Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brian Lewis with the Rah Moment, and today's show is going to be all about the New England Patriots, okay? So, there are three particular Patriots topics that I saw this week that were very, very interesting. The first one being, the whole Jimmy G craze. The second one being about Tom Brady and Colin Cowherd's whole take on if Tom Brady could finish his career with another team, which I'll get to that. I think there is a good chance that I'll get to that. And then there was Garrett Blount stat that Mike Hurley wrote for WBZ Boston. I'm just gonna start with Jimmy G because Jimmy G is the man of the hour in Boston right now. And to be totally real with you guys, I like Jimmy G coming out in the draft in 2014. He was my number 4 rated quarterback. I had a Johnny Manziel, and the only three better than him in that draft were Teddy Bridgewater, who I had my number 1 guy. Not looking so good right now, though. Blake Bortles, who was my number 3 guy. And Derek Carr, who was my number 2 guy. And that's looking like he's probably the best of the bunch right now. Doing suicide dives on 3rd and longs, which is unbelievable. I love that guy. But Jimmy G, he played well. He played admirably against a top 5 defense. I think Arizona is one of the better defenses in pro football. Although Brandon Williams didn't really make it look that way. Remember, they lost Gerard Powers, Antonio Cromartie 2 years ago. So Arizona has to find who that number 2 corner is going to be. They may have to make a move at the deadline or somewhere in the next couple weeks. But that can be figured out. Arizona will figure it out. New England took advantage of an Arizona team that didn't play at their best, and they won. That's really all there is to it. The Boston Herald can make him look like the most eligible bachelor in Boston, just like they did with Brady 12 years ago. But let's face it, guys. Jimmy Garoppolo is in a very similar position that Dak Prescott's in Dallas. Keep in mind, Brady's going to come back, and Brady's going to play Week 5 against Cleveland, and Brady will probably win. Now, if Jimmy goes 4-0, and I remember, talking about this at work and some other places today, and I got to be honest, I still think Brady takes over, but I do think if they do trade Jimmy, there will be a market for Jimmy Garoppolo. And remember, his contract expires next year. But I'll get to that in a second because it's going to mention in the Tom Brady thing. And Colin Cowherd, and this actually is a very smooth transition here. Colin Cowherd said on Tuesday's show, okay, Fox Sports woman Christine Leahy, and they had a whole take, other quarterbacks like Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, all those guys have something in common. They finished their career in other places despite having such a legacy left behind. Manning to Luck, Favre to Rodgers, Unitas to Burt Jones, Unitas to Fouts. So you really have, a bit of a lineage there, and obviously Montana to Young as well. Staubach retired, White took over. At some point, you don't want to be in the position that the Pittsburgh Steelers were in, where Terry Bradshaw had a career-ending injury, or an injury that at that time was not treatable, okay? You don't want to be in the position the Colts were in with Burt Jones, where you don't have a replacement. And it's brutal. It really is. You have to take the quarterback, but the quarterback position is so important in today's NFL more than ever because of the way the rules are, where quarterbacks and wide receivers are basically, the big stat guys, and they're the only positions that really matter nowadays, There are people that literally hate the running back position now because of how valueless the position looks because of today's rules. But staying on topic here, I think Tom Brady stays, and I think Tom Brady could very well finish his career. But Colin Cowherd basically made a bunch of points saying all these guys did not finish their careers. Now, does that necessarily mean that Brady doesn't have a chance to finish his career in New England? Of course not. It means he might as well. If he wins Super Bowl number 5, there is no reason for him to play anymore. What else could he do? He's won MVPs. He's won 4 Super Bowls. And let's face it here, guys. It's not like the Patriots are really going to want to be held hostage the way the Green Bay Packers were. So they're not going to let Brady play for another 5 years if Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy they kind of like and they're comfortable with. And at that point, you have to put the team above the player, no matter how valuable that player has been for you in the past. Because you can't be living in the past. I hate to mention this, Patriots fans, but most of you guys probably root for the Boston Celtics. I'm a huge Celtics guy. I'm a Ravens fan, but I'm a huge Celtics fan. And I really do admire the way Danny Ainge had the balls. As much as I hated the trade, he traded Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and ended up getting those first-round picks that ended up getting us Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, the whole 9 yards. This whole core now for the Celtics actually has a bright future. Now, if LeBron were to have were to retire early, we have a chance to win an NBA title. But that's the same thing. You've got to be prepared. next man up philosophy. It's not like you can't just make exceptions because it's Tom Brady. And, he's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, but at some point it's going to crash down. Quarterbacks at 38-40. You watch Brett Favre, that 1 year in Minnesota where they got their ass kicked in the NFC title game by the Saints before the Saints lost in the Super Bowl. Before the Saints won the Super Bowl against the Colts, sorry. And you know what? It looked rough, that game. But that game was the beginning of the end for Brett Favre. Manning, his neck injury, granted, he recovered. But after the whole HGH scandal came out, he looked like crap. I don't find it a surprise, but he won't talk about the HGH thing. I'm very disappointed that Comedy Central censored that out. They basically did not make any HGH jokes. I was kind of disappointed. And this really comes down to, Patriots fans, just don't get butthurt over Colin Cowherd. He's a pretty good guy. He was one of the Brady. He's a big Brady supporter, just like Skip Bayless. So just shut the hell up and stop being so butthurt over everything. Your fan base. I get that you guys like guys like Matt Chatham and Christian Fourier. And I get those guys were football. Those guys played the game, But they're homers. They're paid by the Patriots to endorse the team and blow smoke up their ass. That's what they do. That's what homers do. They blow smoke up your ass. And the Crafts are famous for that. They're literally trying to be like the Rooneys and the Maras, where it's like you can't say anything bad about the team. God forbid. Now the next thing is another situation. Mike Hurley, bless his heart, 98.5 The Sports Hub producer, wrote a column the other day about why all the hate for LeGarrette Blount. And he said LeGarrette Blount's a good running back. And I'm going to stop it right there. But there was another stat that LeGarrette Blount has the highest yards per carry average of any running back in Patriots history. Now, as a Ravens fan, okay, I could tell you something about good running backs. Priest Holmes, Jamal Lewis, Chester Taylor, who is decent, Ray Rice, Forsett is pretty decent. But LeGarrette Blount is not even as good as those guys. Okay? I would take Justin Forsett right now over LeGarrette Blount. I would. Forsett's proven over time that he can be reliable. And plus Forsett played college ball with Marshawn Lynch. That's pretty cool. And at the end of the day, what does LeGarrette Blount give you? He gives you 20 carries for 72 yards in a big game and bounces everything outside like he's Ron Dane. I don't know if you guys saw Ron Dane. I don't know if you guys even know who Ron Dane is. This market, I really question the football intelligence around here because this is such a hockey and baseball market to the max. But my God, Boston, at some point, you got to learn to just admit Michael Felger is right. Come on, guys. You can't just hate on everybody that contrares to your homeristic opinions. Let me tell you something. You would think all the Patriots' greatest running backs of all time should be between guys like, Sam Cunningham should definitely be on that list. If he's not, you're delusional. Corey Dillon had arguably the greatest season of any Patriots running back of all time. Curtis Martin is the biggest what if in Patriots history because if he stays, what would Pete Carroll have been able to do with Drew Bledsoe and Curtis Martin? But Robert Kraft didn't want to pay up for a running back. God forbid that he pays up for a player and actually pays him what he deserves. And it didn't happen until the Belichick era, God forbid. Because other than Tom Brady and Devin McCourty, it doesn't seem like the Patriots have ever taken care of their own guys. Because that's historically what they are. And I would say the Ravens have at least kept the core over the years with Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. They paid Flacco twice, although I disagreed with it. They gave Ray Rice a huge extension. They tried to keep Torrey Smith around. He jetted out. Todd Heap was around forever. Dennis Pitt has been around. And Jonathan Ogden was around for so long. Certain teams have different ways to build it. But if you're not loyal to the guys that you brought up, then what good is that? And LeGarrette Blount, you cut him once already, guys. LeGarrette Blount's best season was 1,000 yards rushing as a rookie with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And remember, they had a rookie quarterback in Josh Freeman. They had nobody at wide receiver. I think Mike Williams out of Syracuse was their number one wide receiver that year. And they were bums. That was a horrible Greg Schiano coached football team. That was his first year after Rutgers, or it might have been Raheem Morris. And if it is Raheem Morris, I apologize. Because Raheem Morris got gutted in Tampa Bay, and Greg Schiano destroyed the team and destroyed Josh Freeman's confidence. But Patriots fans, just understand this. LeGarrette Blount ain't shit. Okay? He's a decent backup running back on a team that doesn't give a crap about the running back position. And that's essentially where you are. If I were the Patriots right now, I'd be looking at DJ Foster, and I'd be playing him a lot more. I'd look at James White and use him as a wide receiver only because he can't run the ball. But God forbid, anyone else outside of a New England Patriots fan can have an opinion on the Patriots. It's like, God forbid, someone can be objective about something around here. But then again, it's not like you guys are ever objective about the Red Sox. It's not like you guys ever are objective about the Bruins. And God forbid, Celtics fans think that every big trade is going to happen tomorrow. So I'm just a victim of watching the city of Boston basically become New York Junior. And it's become pretty pathetic. But you know what, Patriots fans? You guys have won 4 Super Bowls. You guys earned the bragging rights. But keep in mind, I'm not going to be the one that's calling you a cheater, but the rest of the country will. Just remember that. Play the role as the villain, and you get to be the villain, and people will hate you, but they have to respect you. Just like they did with the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Cowboys in the 70s. Because that's what elite teams are. They're the villains. You're no Superman. You're no Batman. You're the Joker. This is Brian Lewis from the Rah Moment. Have a good evening.